Enshrouded is a new RPG survival game that came out around a month ago. This game kinda came out at the worst time possible because it released basically alongside Palworld, and we all know how that game has taken over the internet. Unfortunately, Enshrouded has kind of flown under everyone's radar because of Palworld, which is a real shame because this game is really good. I recently 100% completed Enshrouded and wanted to give my review on this game. I will start off by saying that I didn't record any of my playtime with Enshrouded because I honestly wasn't planning on doing a review of it. But after playing it and completing it, I decided I want to share, so here we are. All of the footage that you're seeing now is just going to be me running around for the sake of giving you guys something to look at while you listen to me talk. So I'm sorry for the lack of proof or examples of what I'm referring to. I've learned my lesson, record everything. Kicking things off, let me establish what exactly Enshrouded is. Enshrouded is an RPG survival game set in a medieval fantasy era where the world has been taken over by a corrupting fog called the Shroud. You play as a Flameborn, one of the last of your kind, and it's up to you to try to save the world from the Shroud. From my experience, games that try to take on an RPG survival approach usually end up being more of one rather than the other. However, Enshrouded does a really good job at balancing both genres together. Starting off with the RPG aspect of the game, your character can level up, and with each level you get skill points. These skill points can be used within the skill tree to create a build for your character. You can branch into different types of classes or focus entirely on one. You can even respec your skills, so if you decide to start off more as a tank but then decide to play as a wizard, doing that is possible and easy. The game also encourages your progression through the story in the form of quests that you get from either finding certain items or notes to read around the world, or from the companions that you'll eventually free. The quests aren't anything too crazy, but they're also not boring either. Like, there is lore to the game if that's something you're looking for, but you don't have to pay attention to it if you don't want to. The quests split up into three types. There's main quests, companion quests, and side quests. The main quests and companion quests go somewhat hand in hand with each other. Main and companion quests will be your guide for progressing throughout the game. Most companion quests will want you to retrieve an item for them, which will allow you more crafting recipes. The main quests mostly just point you towards finding the companions and then towards specific bosses. Stepping away from the quests and companions, let's move on to combat. Combat in this game is really good. Honestly, most survival games have mediocre combat, however, Enshrouded really excels in this part. The combat is difficult, but not so difficult that it's on the level of a Souls-like game. It definitely feels inspired by Souls-like games, but it also seems like it understands that not everyone wants that. The only issues I had with the combat was hit registration felt a little off at times, and not being able to cancel animations with a dodge somewhat frustrated me at times. It could just be a skill issue, but it just didn't feel good in my opinion. Getting hit because I was locked in an animation rather than because my timing was off just felt more annoying than anything. Hit registration also felt a little off at times too. There'd be times where I felt like I was completely out of reach from an enemy but still got hit, or even times where I'd be behind the enemy but still somehow got hit even though they were swinging in front of them. Combat overall is very good in this game. Honestly, just those two things need some adjusting for it to be close to perfection for this type of game. Moving past the combat and stepping away from the RPG side of the game, let's move on to the survival side. The survival aspect of this game is really well done. The map isn't randomly generated, so everyone will have access to the same stuff in the same areas, and since it's voxel based, you can manipulate basically anything in the game. If you come across a rundown village and want to rebuild it and claim it as your own, you can. If you prefer to carve out a cave in the side of a mountain, you can do that as well. The freedom this game gives you to explore and build wherever you want to is honestly so refreshing. Like, I haven't played a survival game that made me feel that free since probably Minecraft. There is no hunger or thirst system, so if you're looking for that hardcore survival element, this game doesn't have it. Instead, it looks at consumables such as foods and drinks with more of a Valheim approach. Drinking water increases your max stamina for a certain period of time. Certain foods will regen your health, give you more health, or increase your stats like strength or intelligence. The system just works for this game. It honestly seems like it was the best decision when it came to hunger and thirst. For this game, I really like this system. Exploration in this game is phenomenal. The world is so vast and packed with places to explore. The map is huge, and being handcrafted makes it feel like it's packed with so much more content and life within it. There aren't any mounts in the game. However, you're not forced to just walk around everywhere. You're able to craft grappling hooks and gliders to help you get across the map easier. There's also fast travel points you can discover or even create yourself, so traversing this massive map feels less intimidating. It feels like the devs know that the map is huge and don't want players to get bored running from one side of the map to the other, so to prevent that, they made exploration faster, easier, and more fun. One downside I did notice was that there was hardly any voice acting. Most of the time you're just having to read rather than listening to someone talk to you. It's not a major deterrent from the game in my opinion, since you're not really going to be talking to other people all that often, but I figured it was at least worth mentioning. Enemy variety also isn't on some kind of insane level. You'll definitely come across several of the same type of enemies. However, I think there's enough variety to where it doesn't feel boring because you're just fighting the same thing over over and over. Usually if you go to a new area, you'll come across a few new enemy types, so each area feels unique because of this. So far, at the time of recording this, there's only a handful of bosses. Only one main story boss with a few side bosses scattered around the map. The main boss fight is really good. It was challenging enough for my girlfriend and I that we had to actually communicate on when we could and couldn't attack. It was challenging, but also fun and not frustrating. The side bosses also aren't bad either, but they definitely feel like side bosses compared to the main one. On the technical side of the game, for me, the game ran great. I played through the entire game with my girlfriend and I rarely had issues. Occasionally towards the end of our playthrough, I started to have this bug where I couldn't see enemies' health bars anymore, but a quick reload fixed this issue. It only happened about 2 to 3 times, so it wasn't anything that was game breaking. My girlfriend, however, had issues with getting the game to launch and load. However, this could just be because her game was installed on a hard drive and mine was on an SSD, so if you're considering getting this game, do not install it on a hard drive if you don't have to. You can definitely still play the game and enjoy it on a hard drive, however, you're also a lot more likely to run into problems if you do. Frame rates and overall performance of the game is really good. I never experienced a crash, but I did have some moments of dropped frames. Most of the time it was right after I fast traveled and the game was just trying to load everything around me. However, it didn't happen every time I fast traveled. I could probably count on one hand the number of times I experienced frame rate drops. Enshrouded is still currently in early access with more content to come, but as it currently stands, Enshrouded is an incredible RPG survival game that absolutely nails what it's going for. Most of the issues I had with the game were small issues that could be easily fixed with updates. I definitely recommend this game if you enjoy RPGs and survival games. I honestly can't wait to see what else gets added as time goes on. I've also 100% completed Starfield, so if you'd like to see me make a review on that game as well, then definitely comment it down below. If there are any other games you'd like me to check out and potentially review, I'm open to any and all suggestions. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, you should subscribe so you don't miss any future videos.